Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Rock Talk with the Doc Rocker album reviews. We're only going to do an album review this week. It's going to be a short one. And we got two awesome albums that neither one of us have heard before. I heard one track off of Nightwish's Endless Forms Most Beautiful, but I never heard the whole album. And I only heard a few tracks off of the band Amaranthe's newer albums. I never heard anything pretty much before probably 2018 by this band. So there's two albums we're going to review today. It's our homework assignments. Amaranthe, self-titled, and Endless Forms Most Beautiful. So, Danton, where are we starting? Where are we going to first?
So we're going to start with Amaranthe because those of you that are following along know that last week we took a look at a power metal band, Camelot, their album Silverthorn, which features on one of their singles on that record, they feature the singer from Amaranthe. And that was part of what got my attention because I really
you were really into this girl. You really liked her voice, and that really like, you know, struck this whole thing up. Let's find what band that she's in.
Yeah, and that was how we found Amaranthe. At least that's how I have found Amaranthe. So I was excited to check it out because I didn't know that she was, you know, one of the lead singers for another band. So I was eager to check them all out. So I figured what better place to start with getting into a new band than with their very first record. It's usually good to like do like the first and then the last, and then maybe you kind of work your way around, or you go off of like a friend's recommendation or whatever. I always like to start at the beginning, regardless of a band and their history. So I jumped in totally blind. The only thing I knew is that I really liked the singer's voice, and I knew that she was part of, you know, we talked about this last week. She was part of an act where it's not just her the whole time. There was also a lot of male vocals as well, and a lot of screaming. So they're kind of labeled as metalcore-ish and power metal and melodic death metal, at least according to Wiki, which was really interesting. And I kind of got a little bit of all three of those from listening to this first album, and I thought it was pretty dope. I liked it. What did you think, Jeff?
I liked it. There's three vocalists, okay? I like two of them. Two out of three isn't bad. But overall, okay, generally speaking, the album's really solid. It is. I really like the hooks. The hooks on almost every song are really poppy. They really get in your head. They're almost trendy sounding. Like they're very, very, like I said, poppy and very easy to digest. When we hit the hook in all of these songs, they're catchy.
Yeah,
it kicks in like from the beginning. It kicks in with a real power metalish. Leave Everything Behind song. Very power metalish, you know, and it showcases the three singers right off the bat. So you kind of know what you're in for. You know, the woman's name, I believe her name's Elise, female vocalist. She's incredible. I really like the way she sounds. She has a great, and I'll say it again, she's a great poppy voice. Like she'd be like perfectly fine singing like pop rock and, you know, like, you know, radio friendly hard rock music. There's a clean vocalist. I don't know his name, but he's really good too. And then there's the harsh vocals, and I could do without that guy. He just kind of doesn't add anything to the mix, honestly. But see, but if the other two weren't such strong vocalists, the harsh vocalist would bother me more. He doesn't really bother me because the other two are so good. And there's a lot of vocal harmony and great melodies in all of these songs. With the harsh vocalist guy, I kind of wanted to say like, hey, just go stand in the corner and shut up. The adults are making really good music.
Yeah, just put him in another band.
Just go over there. He actually did leave the band. I was reading up on him.
Did he?
That guy did leave the band, but they do have another vocalist just to do harsh vocals. So like they're keeping that thing, and that's probably kind of what makes them a little bit more unique. That they have three vocalists and they all do a different thing, which is cool. You know me, I'm not very big on that kind of harsh vocal because it just, I don't know, they don't do it too much, which is great. And after I listened,
pretty well balanced, I think. You know, you get enough of the girl, enough of the guy, enough of the harsh.
Yeah, I don't really need it though. Like in some of these songs, it didn't kind of, you know. My favorite song was definitely A Million Light Years. I think it's like the third or fourth track.
That one was really solid.
That was really good. Automatic is great, real heavy. Rain, Serendipity, the closer is The whole album's really good, really solid. Like I said, I like what they're doing harmony wise. There's a little bit of like an industrial tinge to it sometimes too. There's like some neat keyboard things they're doing. It's not like straight on power metal. It's not straight on metalcore either, but there's elements of all that in there. And that was really surprising. And it's catchy as all hell. It's catchy as all hell. It really is. The way I can describe it to people is a way better European version of Evanescence.
Ooh, ouch. Shots fired. I actually really, really like Evanescence. They were one of my jams in high school when they were like at the height of their popularity. The
That's
whole,
fine.
like, let's have like a hard, like dark alternative rock fronted by a female singer. And I really love her
that's
voice
what this
too.
is.
Yeah, well, see, I loved this too. I always liked that. And it's funny because we're going to talk about Nightwish too. The same idea of like really hard, aggressive, heavy sound fronted by a female singer. It's just so rare that every instance of it occurring is novel to me. And I have yet to find one that I don't like. You know,
yeah, there's
it's
a
really,
lot
really
of bands
cool.
like this with the female frontal vocals. There's a lot of bands like this. There are some that aren't as good as others. There are some that they have that sound. It sounds cool. But there's nothing that sticks. I want to listen to more of this band, a lot
Me
more,
too.
because I think their later albums are probably even better. This kind of sound like this was like their first album. I think they put out an EP before this, or like a demo or something. But this was their burst onto the scene kind of album. So, and they just released something not too long ago. And I watched a video online today, actually. And it sounds like the stuff on this album, but more focused, better. If you know,
Oh, wow.
It sounds like they grew. I really like what it sounds like, and
yeah, that's a pretty tall claim because it really when you put on paper what these guys are trying to do, it sounds overly ambitious. Like, let's try to mix a little bit of power metal, a little bit of metalcore, a little bit of a girl singer, a little bit of a guy singer. Let's have keyboards, let's have industrial, let's have all these different things and put it all together. That could easily be the recipe for a giant hot mess and a bomb of an album. And it isn't. It really impressed me that every single song on this album was solid. I didn't really have any duds that I was like, all right, if I listen to this again, I'm going to skip this one. I really didn't have that thought. Going more on the same lines. Yeah, go ahead.
But when I first listened to it, like last week, when we decided, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Last Friday night, I pulled up some tracks from the album. I listened to some live tracks, like I listened to the Million Light Years live. So I'm listening to it with my wife, and we're both like, "What the hell is it?" It was a lot to take in because I didn't expect all these different styles to kind of be thrown at you at once.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, I don't know if I like this. But then I listened to it again and again. I'm like, no, there's some really good hooks here. Then I'm like, okay, now I know what they're doing. And yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. So at first I was like, I don't know. But then when I listened to the whole thing, because I listened to this album probably 5 times this week. I really like it. Yeah. Oh God, it's been spinning in my car constantly. This and another one, Nightwish. I listened to that a lot this week too, because I like that too. But yeah, Amaranthe, great stuff. It really is, and I will.
Yeah, it's great metal. It's awesome.
When I need my like female fronted symphonic power metal with a little bit of death metal thrown in there, I need that fix. I'm gonna go with this because her voice is. I really like her voice. Fantastic.
Me too. It's definitely the highlight of the whole band for me, and that's really not saying much because the guitar players especially were. I loved every riff that I heard. I liked a lot of the lead playing. I thought it was really tasteful, super catchy. And you mentioned they kind of have a little bit of this kind of poppy sound. The one thing that kind of bothered me about it is that almost every chorus, at least for like 3 or 4 tracks in a row, and probably for more tracks on the album, they all follow the same progression, chord wise. Not to get too much into it, but it's like basically a really common 4-chord progression that's used a lot in pop music. And I think that's what lends itself so well to their melody writing. And while all of the choruses sound like they have that same progression, and that bothered me about halfway through, I was like, I've heard this same progression now like 5 or 6 different times in 5 or 6 different songs, and it's starting to get old for me. But each time they treat it really well with a unique melody that really stands out.
It's slightly different each time, but yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of sameness in some of these songs. I get that, but I don't think it detracts too much from the album as a whole.
No, I don't think so either. It just distracts if you're like into like super proggy stuff and you want to hear like a lot of really different sorts of things. It might leave something to be desired if that's your taste, but I liked it, and I'm definitely looking forward to repeat listens. And especially checking out more of what these guys have to offer with later albums. So maybe next
Yeah.
week we should look at their most recent and kind of like jump to the end and then work backwards or something. That could be fun.
Yeah, that'll definitely be fun. I'm definitely going to do some more of these guys in the future.
Yeah.
I just
Totally.
it's on my list now for, like, traveling music. I'm going to have this urge to hear it, to listen to it again more and more. It was really good. I give it 2 thumbs up. It's definitely something that, if you haven't heard of this band before and you like that female fronted power metal, symphonic metal, anything like that, going from Nightwish and Evanescence and even the band Leaves Eyes, the band, the other girls from Nightwish here, and Simone Simmons, her band, I can't remember the name of them, but there are a whole bunch of these bands that kind of fall into the same kind of genre. These guys are one of the best, I think, that I've heard in a while. I can't remember her name. Epica. I'm sorry. Yeah, real simple.
Oh yeah,
real simple
I keep forgetting about Epica.
The band name's Epica. I keep on forgetting about Nightmare Move. So there you go. That's the kind of vibe that they give off, but they're more than that, which is nice. Little touches of, like you said, metalcore and even melodic death metal. So it's cool. It's
yeah. It's unique and interesting and different, and I love all about it.
So let's move on to Nightwish, Endless Form's Most Beautiful, the 8th album by Nightwish, released in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this one?
All right, so let me start right away with the one thing I didn't like, because the one thing I didn't like, I really, really, really didn't like, but everything else about the album I absolutely adored. 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite. Nightwish is, it like about halfway through the album, it like hit me where like this is like one of the definitive power metal albums that every power metal head out there should listen to if they haven't heard it. And I'm kicking myself so hard in the rear for not having checked it out sooner, because I loved it until the end. The last track can just go take a vacation. The whole Greatest Show on Earth or whatever it's called, it's just this 25-minute just entourage of pretentiousness and just, it's like super, super snooty and slow paced. The pacing is terrible. And it's, like, I'm all for songs that are super long. Again, I'm a big progressive guy, and Dream Theater's guilty of it too. They have so many songs that are 15, 20, 25 minutes, and I don't have a problem with that most of the time. But when the song is just super slow and boring and not interesting, then just, wrap it up. Like that song could have very easily been like chopped up into like 3 different 5-minute long songs that all could have been great and it would have been awesome. But it's just this whole slow slog, dumb, stupid. I'm never going to listen to it again. But until that point, every single track up until the last 2, because like there's a little like prelude track to it. It's got this little like children choir droning on kind of thing, and it's really repetitive and boring, and I didn't like it at all. But until I got to that point, all the tracks up to that point were amazing. I loved everything about everything they did. All the riffs, all the drumming. It's really easy with power metal to get like super like overindulgent with the drum parts, where it's just like double bass a mile a minute and just like super, super fast tempos. And all of these songs had different grooves and different feelings, different tempos, different characters, different shades. I really, really liked it. All the riffs, like so many times, just like with the Sabbath stuff from last week, or sorry, the Heaven and Hell stuff from last week. Just so many times, like real cool heavy riffs, great lead playing, awesome symphonic stuff. I feel like this just the level of added symphonic material was just right, because it could be also easy to do too much of that, I think, and it didn't. It was really every single note and the mix was so crystal clear, and the vocals were amazing, and switching from Finnish to English and getting all the different languages and all this really cool. Every single song is amazing. There was, until the end, there was not one song I didn't like. And then when I got to the end, I felt like I just wasted a half hour of my life. So I would just as easily listen to the first 8 or 9 tracks or whatever it is, and then just go back and listen to those again. That would have been a better use of my time. Absolutely fantastic, but don't indulge yourself with the final track if you want my opinion.
My opinion's a little different on that final track, but there's a reason behind it.
Okay.
I'll get to that. I'll get to that, because I don't want to forget anything. I'm going to really echo a lot of what you said, because I really like this album. The only track I ever heard off of it before was Elan. I think it's how it's pronounced.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, that track, they have a video for that. And when that track came out back in 2015, I loved it. I just, for some reason, never got the album. But this is the first album with Floor Jansen singing. She's their third vocalist so far.
Okay.
And to me, she's their best.
Yeah, I loved her. I thought she was awesome.
She's perfect. And the first vocalist, Taria, was the most operatic. She's great, you know. But her second vocalist, Annette, she had a great pop metal voice. Really, like, she was more like the girl from the first album we listened to. Not as good, but still, she had that kind of poppy voice to it. But Floor Jansen, she's perfect. She's the best out of the three because she kind of has both. You know, she has that great pop sound to her voice. It's, you know, just natural, great sound. And she could do all the operatic, crazy stuff that the original vocalist could do too. So she has no problem singing any of the stuff in their catalog, which is great. Cool. Okay, back to the album. Most of it, 99% of it, I'd say, is really super strong. It's a really great album. I really like the symphonic parts to it. And I'm going to butcher his name if I even try to pronounce the keyboard player's name. Tomas, we'll call him, because that's his first name. His last name is like
Holopainen, maybe?
Oh, yeah, Tomas, we'll call him. He's like the major songwriter, I believe, the mastermind behind the band. It was his band. He created it. And if you didn't know by now, he's a huge, serious, like, Disney fan, you know? And he's a very big classical music fan and like cinematic music, you know, soundtracks and stuff like that. And you can really hear it in this album, I think. It started a few albums before, really. He was really starting to get into that more symphonic stuff for the band. Like, they just kept on adding more and more of that symphony kind of sound to it, which I think works really well for them. A couple really great standout tracks. I mean, I don't think there was a bad track on the album until, like you said, The Greatest Show on Earth, which I have a little bit different take on. I'll get to that in a second. Weak Fantasy, it's probably like the heaviest song there. You know, there's like real fast-paced blaring strings in the background. My Walden is great. Shudder Before the Beautiful, very strong.
Yeah, awesome opener. What a way to open the album.
Yeah,
I was hooked from that moment. And then by the time we hit like tracks 4 and 5, Yours Is an Empty Hope and Our Decades in the Sun, I was like, yeah, this whole album is solid. I loved it. I love it to pieces.
Oh, it's great. The musicianship is top notch. Alpenglow is another one of my favorites. That's a really killer song. Elon,
if you ask me, that's the last good track on the album.
Yeah, the use of different instruments in this album was really cool too.
Yeah, it was very colorful.
They're I'm going to try to pronounce this word. The Ilian pipe player, who's actually now in the band full time. That's like it's a weird instrument. It's kind of like a bagpipe, but a little different. Doesn't sound as horrible as a bagpipe.
It's not as nasally.
But yeah, that's featured prominently on this whole album, which I think is really cool. So I guess like this guy used to play with I'm not even going to try to mention his name either because I'm sure he has some kind of crazy name, but he's been playing on tour with them for a while before this 2015 album. And then I guess they just were like, oh, you know what? You just might as well be in the band and just, you know, be on the album.
That's awesome.
It's a really great addition, I think. Because I like when they toy around with the more like Celtic-y, folky vibes that they have throughout all their music.
Yeah, when they do that, they do it really well.
Yeah. So, okay, lyrically, they largely draw on the ideas of Charles Darwin in this album. The album's title is actually part of a quote from the 1859 book, The Origin of Species. It describes evolution from one common ancestor to like all living things. It's a very loose concept on this album. It's not like a concept album, but it's more like the album's songs are all about like the beauty of life, existence, nature, science, stuff like that. So going back to The Greatest Show on Earth, it may help you if you watch the video that I found online that kind of tells the story that they're trying to tell with this song. Because like, you know, it starts off real slow. And like I watched this video, I'm like, okay, now I get it. Because again, like in the song at first, it was like, oh my God. whoa, it was boring the hell out of me. It really was. And especially she starts off with a little piano and it's real kind of sparse. That's supposed to be like the Big Bang, I guess, like the beginning of the universe. It's like it's supposed to tell like the tale of like life, the universe, and everything. You know, I'm sure there's a 4 and a 2 somewhere in there, but it's very it's trying to be a very epic classical kind of based song the way it's approached. But there's a video goes along with it and it kind of shows like video of like what they're trying to do. I don't even know if it's an official video. I found it online. Like there's around the 11-minute mark. There's like some kind of like crescendo, and there's like dinosaur sounds in like the background. So I'm like, the video I was watching, it's like, okay, that's when like the comet hits the earth and the dinosaurs die, you know. And then there's like the spoken word stuff where I wasn't really a big fan of it. It just kind of adds to like what they were trying to do. I can't really defend the 24 minutes. But,
yeah, no, I feel like they were more focused on hitting that minute mark of look at us, we wrote a 24-minute song, and like 7 or 8 of those minutes is just droning on, just repeating stuff. Like I'm all for songs that are super long. That's great, but just write the content. Give us interesting content that comes together, and let it be as long as it needs to be.
Some people will say this is the most epic thing they ever wrote. I probably, without that video going along with it, I probably won't indulge myself for 24 minutes with the song again. I really won't. Unfortunately, there's some cool parts in it here and there, but not enough because there's too many of these not interesting. Yeah,
just empty spaces.
Yeah, and I think that's what they were, I think, going for. And you know, this video, like I said, I don't even know if it's an official video. It probably isn't. It's probably a fan-made video, but like everything kind of lines up to where the spoken word stuff is to the video and the dinosaur screams. Because when I first heard it driving my car, I hear all these like noises and I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, I hear these like dinosaur noises around the 10-minute mark and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Because I was just driving, just listening to the music as the music.
Yeah, at one point I heard like monkey sounds and stuff. I'm like, what is this?
I'm looking around, I'm like,
this is just silly.
Where's David Draymond? There's no David Draymond. Why do I hear monkey noises? Okay, yeah. So that is the only low point on this album, I think. And I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's as low as you. But I did a little bit more research. I listened to it twice actually. I listened to that last song twice. The rest of the album I listened to about 6 times. And yeah, that track is just, it's too much to take in, I think. But other than that, I don't think there's a weak song on the album other than the last one. So that's Endless Forms, most beautiful, strong vocals, musicianship, gorgeous orchestral elements. You know, it's really a nice combination between power metal and symphonic metal. A little piece of trivia I found out today while I was reading up on it. On August 12th, 2020, a prehistoric rock shelter was named the Alpenglow Rock Shelter. It was discovered in Pennsylvania, and it was named after Nightwish. It was named after Nightwish, the Alpenglow.
The song Alpenglow.
Yeah. There you go. There's a little dorky, geeky trivia for you.
Nice. I love it.
But that's if anyone wants to hear a decent Nightwish album, a really good Nightwish album is this one. It's just as strong to me as the older ones that I'm more familiar with, like Wishmaster, Century's Child, you know, and on and on and on. This one is the latest one I've heard. I didn't hear the new one that came out last year or the year before. I didn't hear that one yet. I've heard all of them up to this point. So up to this point, this is a solid Nightwish album. You know, it's good. It's probably I think it's the most symphonic of all of them so far as their, you know, putting in those symphony elements and stuff, and making it more bombastic and more like a symphony orchestra at some
more grandiose.
Yeah, there you go. Grandiose is a good word.
Awesome.
So there you have it. 2 really good albums that we did again this week.
Yeah, A+ for both of them.
Yeah. I probably will go back to I'll go back to both of them probably just as much. I mean, I really even this week I was just like, what am I going to listen to driving home from work? One day it'll be the first one day it'll be the second one. I just went back and forth. I listened to these a lot. They were both really good, and you know, there's other than The Greatest Show on Earth, yeah. So there you go. There are our album reviews for this week. Next week, we're probably going to turn around and do something a little bit different. But there you go. And make sure you join our Rock Talk with Doc Rocker Facebook group. I just posted, before we started this, I just posted about what we were going to do tonight, just the album reviews. We got a couple people saying, all right, great. They're two great picks. Time for some female-fronted symphonic metal, and that's exactly what it was. Two great picks, absolutely. There's a lot of talk going on our Rock Talk group, so please join it. And, of course, subscribe and gong that bell on our YouTube page. We need more subscribers.
Pansy Podcast Productions. Check us out.